Greetings and welcome people to YouTube. This is Essence of Forte and I'm doing a video that's not my usual style of video in which I go through a theist one and pick it apart. However, it's just a video addressing a certain YouTube user, hopefully pointing out a few points, etc. So yes, anyway, that user is MrRepzion and it's on his video watching your daughter get raped. And the video was about the case of Anthony Brinkman, who posted an ad on Craigslist to have his daughter sexually assaulted whilst he watched, and then he drove 80 miles to what turned out to be a police sting. So, yes, and whilst I agree with a lot of stuff MrRepzion says, there was one thing about that video that really disturbed me in a sense, you know. It's in the opening. I'll probably play the clip after I've stated it, but you know, he opens with the fact that there are not many people out there that make him feel like they deserve the capital punishment.
It is very rare for me to sit back and say, that man or that woman deserves capital punishment, the death penalty.
What's worse is this didn't actually hit me at the beginning because we're so desensitized towards the idea of capital punishment. It wasn't until he actually asked the question at the end, you know, do you think we should still have the death penalty in cases like these? And then he goes, because I do. No exceptions. You know, that's when it really did hit me, and I really took an issue to it.
Do you support the death penalty under this specific circumstance? Because I do. No exceptions.
Okay, so I'm going to really look at two different points here. One is the physical cost, and the other is the psychological perspective. Now, in the physical cost, if you look at the structure around the death penalty in California, the total cost for that is $137 million, compared to the $11.5 million if the maximum sentence was life incarceration. This is because they have to go through the process of, you know, petitioning. They have to have evidence reviews, etc. All of this adds up to a far greater amount than life incarceration. Now, I posted this comment on your video, and the response I got from one of your viewers was quite appalling, you know, just shoot them or hang them. You know, the problem with this is over 140 people since the 1970s who were on death row have been cleared of charges or have been acquitted, i.e. found innocent. So, you can't remove this cost or this process because there have been people who were completely innocent on death row who have then later on been found in the light of new evidence or, you know, a better jury that, no, in fact, they are not guilty, they are in fact innocent. So you can't get rid of this cost. So, this claim that we need the death penalty when it's far less costly to actually have life imprisonment is barbaric in itself. So that's the physical cost side of things, but now let's go on to the psychological perspective, because at 1 minute 19 you do state that you like psychology, you like to know how things work. However, you can't understand what can cause this, you know, even if they're a bad parent.
And as someone who tries to understand why people think and act the way they do, I really love psychology. I can't come up with any reason as to how someone could do this to their daughter. Like, even if they're a bad parent, even if they don't take care of their child in with the way that they should, the fact that a parent would want to harm their 11-year-old daughter by watching her get raped by strangers is beyond moral depravity for me. It's beyond morally apprehensible. It's plain evil.
Now, what gets me here is that psychology is extremely deterministic in its basis. It relies on the fact of determinism, whether it be the psychodynamic theory, whether it be the cognitive theory, whether it be behavioral or biological. They are all deterministic. They are run on the basis that, you know, pre-existing factors lead to a predetermined outcome. So, for you then to exclude these cases just because you have a strong emotional rejection of them, it is a form of special pleading fallacy or, you know, a double standard. Just because you find it morally objectionable and you don't understand every variable involved doesn't then mean that you should go straight towards, the death penalty. It could be a number of factors that could be happening. It could be their cognitive that is disrepaired, They quite clearly did not perceive any consequence for their actions, and they quite clearly have a very sadistic mindset. Or it could have been behavioural, I myself often feel the same towards perpetrators of domestic violence, and there are reasons for that. However, 15 minutes later, I'm kicking myself for that thought, because I know, psychologically, that people who have experienced or witnessed domestic violence are far more likely to then go on and actually, imitate this behaviour. So it could be a learned behaviour, as the behavioural perspective says. Or it could be the physical perspective, It could be the way that their brain is hardwired to enjoy this sadistic harming of their child. That could explain it. Or they could lack empathy or the right connections on social behaviour. So it could be a number of these factors, yet you have just pushed it out because you feel it's morally objectable, Again, I feel often the same way towards domestic abusers. But then I look at it and I really kick myself because of that, because I know there are a number of factors that can lead to this. So, when it comes to the death penalty, there is no discussion. There are other areas that I will discuss, however. For example, how life in my country isn't actually life. It's only a set amount of time, and you look at prisons and you see the sort of state that they're kept in. Yeah, I can certainly agree. Maybe we should introduce some sort of earning system in all prisons, because then it creates a micro society that they can either, it will help them re-socialize themselves into learning correct values, or in the case that they cannot be corrected, because in some cases they can't, they can be isolated from the greater of society, protecting its citizens whilst they are still alive, and they can exist in a smaller, micro society that is under controlled conditions that, nothing is going to happen. So why don't we take the cheaper alternative, the better alternative, the psychologically honest alternative, rather than going for the death penalty? Now, I am sorry for the title. I do realise it's, it is one to catch the eye. However, it speaks truth. If you look at the facts, it speaks very clearly truth. Now, the only one who can change the truth of the title is you yourself. So I'm not going to expect you to take my word on it. I'll give you a couple of links. There are links to, they are websites that are against the, death penalty. So whether you want to question them, by all means. I used a 2008 study which compared the cost between life incarceration and the death penalty. The statistic on 140 people being saved from death row is actually, they've got embedded in their website, it's an anti-death penalty website, they've got embedded a search engine that you can use, so it tells you how many have been acquitted or declared innocent, etc. So, go check them out. There'll be links down below. And again, just give it more thought. Because when it comes to psychology, you can't just go on what you think things should be like. We go back to the 60s, for example, the Milgram experiment, and we see that 70% of Americans are quite capable of killing a complete stranger if given the right conditions. Now, people would find that shocking. So, you can't go in with this idea, this is how society works. You have to go in objectively and come out using the evidence. So again, you do great content. I'm really a nobody in comparison. However, that's also part of the issue. You are a large YouTuber. You have over 100,000 subscribers. And they are all hearing you say that one thing. That, the death penalty should be used against these people. So really just think about it. That's all from me, and that's me done. This is Essence of Thought. Out.